Breaking news tonight again. He is one of the most popular pastors on the planet, but tonight Rick Warren is at the heart of a political firestorm. Leaders in the gay community are outraged that Barack Obama picked Warren to say a prayer at the inauguration. At issue, Warren's opposition to same-sex marriage and his vocal support of California's Proposition 8, which bans these unions. Listen to what Warren said. This was just a few days ago in an interview with BeliefNet.com.
I'm opposed to the redefinition of a 5,000-year definition of marriage. I'm opposed to having a brother and sister be together and call that marriage. I'm opposed to an older guy marrying a child and calling that a marriage. I'm opposed to one guy having multiple wives and calling that marriage.
Do you think those are equivalent to gays getting married?
Oh, I do.
So let's bring in our political panel now to talk about this. Tonight, we've got CNN contributor David Brody, senior national correspondent for the Christian Broadcasting Network, Joe Solmonese, president of the Human Rights Campaign, the nation's largest civil rights organization for gays and lesbians, and CNN political analyst Roland Martin, who has written a book about faith in everyday life. Roland, let me start with you. You just heard there Pastor Warren comparing gay marriage to incest and bigamy. I mean, how do you think gay Americans are going to feel when they watch him say this prayer at the inauguration?
Well, obviously, they've already expressed their views in terms of they don't like him actually speaking there, so I don't think we have to wonder in terms of what they're going to say. What I also heard, though, is what he talked about is in terms of what he is against in terms of how you define marriage. What's also interesting here, I've been, getting all kind of blog items of this on my Facebook page and on CNN.com. What's interesting, Campbell, is that Obama himself believes that marriage is defined as between a man and a woman. And it's amazing how many gay and lesbians are ignoring that fact. So the question is it those comments there, or is it his actual opposition to gay marriage?
Joe, you wrote that the president-elect said, or here's what you wrote. Let me just quote you directly. That by inviting Rick Warren to your inauguration, you have tarnished the view that gay, lesbian, bisexual, and transgender Americans have a place at your table. But shouldn't the millions of people who consider Pastor Warren a spiritual leader have their voices heard as well? I mean, just a moment ago, you heard Obama saying that there's plenty of room at the table for a variety of voices and opinions here.
Campbell, I admire what President-elect Obama has said, and I have admired for a long time his decision to reach out to people like Rick Warren. But this moment of his inaugural, when we are going from 8 years of one of the most divisive presidencies in modern history to a new age and a new era of a united America, to make the decision to ask a man who said the things that you just heard Rick Warren say, open up that process, to me, is insensitive and politically short-sighted. I agree with Roland. Neither Barack Obama nor Rick Warren supports marriage. That's not what is at issue here. It is that he was one of the generals in the passage of Proposition 8, which President-elect Obama opposed, and that he uses the kind of rhetoric that you just played, which is, what century are we living in when anyone equates same-sex relationships with polygamy, incest, or anything like that? I mean, it's troubling to say the least.
David, there is a certain irony here, though, to this, because Pastor Warren has a very complicated relationship with many people in the evangelical community, doesn't he?
Oh, there's no doubt about it. As a matter of fact, he gets targeted all the time by pro-life conservatives who are actually very frustrated with him because he's doing this in the first place, this inauguration invocation. But beyond that, Rick Warren has really had problems with the James Dobsons and others of the world because he doesn't speak out enough on the traditional marriage issue and the life issue. Campbell, what this is really about at the end of the day is an authenticity issue as it relates to Barack Obama. Barack Obama has said time and time again that he wants to reach across the aisle, the ideological spectrum and all of that. That's exactly what he's done. He has Joseph Lowery and he's got Rick Warren, and my goodness, if that's not a split, that's a split right there, Campbell. He has said it. He did it with Franklin Graham when Franklin Graham was in a religious conservative meeting during the campaign, and you can expect this, Campbell, throughout his administration.
Hey, Campbell, also, Reverend Joseph Lowery actually supports civil unions. He doesn't support gay marriage. I actually got a call from him today clarifying that because I made a mistake on AC 360 last night. But here's also what's interesting. You talk about in terms of Rick Warren supporting Proposition 8, he is a minister. He is a moral leader. So are we saying that Rick Warren cannot not take a position
But
on a
let me-
political
I'm
issue?
saying that there are thousands of
Go ahead.
religious leaders across this country who came out in opposition to Proposition 8. I'm just saying, in this moment, a symbolically important moment, when the eyes of the world are on this country and on this transitional moment, it would seem to me that there would be someone else that President-elect Obama could pick to usher in a new day in America.
I think Joe has a great point there. I think, though, going beyond that, it's exactly for that reason that Barack Obama did this, that the eyes of the world will be on that stage, and that's what Barack Obama probably at the end of the day wanted. Look, this has Rodney King from the LA riots written all over it. You know, can't we all just get along? And that is what's going on here. Barack Obama wants to bring a new sort of dynamic to Washington. This is the biggest stage, and he's doing it.
Let me read you, Roland, one thing that was written. This was in the Huffington Post. Jeffrey Feldman writes, quote, if this were Lincoln's inauguration, Rick Warren would have been the equivalent of a pro-slavery pastor giving the invocation. What do you make of that comparison?
How so?
This is what...
Well, first of all,
you clearly know what he's implying here, Roland.
Well, no, I know what he's implying, but I mean, to make that kind of determination, I'm sorry, it's a stretch, and I will ask him, what does he actually mean by it? Rick Warren has a position on this issue. What's also interesting, Campbell, as David talked about, Rick Warren also is ticking off the right for being there because Obama is pro-choice. And so Rick Warren has the left and the right both mad at him because he's giving an inauguration prayer.
That's right. You've got Obama getting it from the left flank and Rick Warren getting it from the right, and it's like Hatfields and McCoys, and there's Obama and Warren in the middle, and really, but I don't expect Obama to back down at all on this. I mean, clearly the invitation is out there. You don't rescind it now.
Fine. David, do you agree?
Oh, well,
I'm sorry. John, do you agree?
No, I don't expect that that President-elect Obama will back down at all. And I agree with what Jessica Yellen said at the beginning, that I suspect that they either made this determination, understood that it was going to cause the uproar that it did, and did it anyways, or they gave no thought to it. And unfortunately, I don't know which is the case because, you know, as everyone in here knows, you know, Politics 101 would suggest that if you were going to do something like this, you might reach out to the constituency that was going to be impacted and at least raise the question. And unfortunately, that didn't happen. So I don't know the answer.
All right, guys, we got to end it there. David, Joe, and Roland, appreciate your time. Thanks very much, guys.
Thanks, Campbell.
Thanks so much.
Campbell.
We're going to turn